Thanks for tuning into the Just Go Play podcast, where we look to develop and promote a positive youth sports experience. As always, we are available for speaking and private engagements and can be reached at info@justgoplay.ca. You can also catch full video versions of our podcast on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to visit us at justgoplay.ca. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome back to the Just Go Play podcast, where we talk about everything you need to know and how to create a quality sport experience. And Daryl, today, we've been asked by the audience to really take a deeper dive into the concept of free play. You brought it up a couple podcasts ago about the erosion or decrease of free play and the effect that that's having on kids learning fundamental movement skills, having fun, being creative on their own. And I just want to start off, before I get into asking you to share some experiences, great book, The Coddling of the American Mind, where free play was brought up. And I just want to read this quote, and then maybe we can talk about it. So it says, "The decline of unsupervised free play is our fourth exploratory thread. Children, like other mammals, need free play in order to finish the intricate wiring process of neural development. Children deprived of free play are less likely to be competent physically and socially as adults. They are likely to be less tolerant of risk and more prone to anxiety disorders. Free play, according to Peter Gray, is actually activity that is freely chosen and directed by the participants and undertaken for its own sake, not consciously pursued to achieve ends that are distinct from the activity itself. This is the kind of play that play experts say is most valuable for children, yet is also the kind of play that has declined most sharply in the lives of our children. The decline of free play was likely driven by several factors, including an unrealistic fear of strangers and kidnapping since the 1980s, the rising competitiveness for admission to top universities over many decades, a rising emphasis on testing and test preparation and homework, and corresponding de-emphasis on physical and social skills since the early 2000s. The rising availability of smartphones and social media interacted with these other trends, and the combination has greatly changed the way our children spend their time and the kinds of physical and social experiences that guide the intricate wiring process of neural development. Free play helps children develop the skills of cooperation, dispute resolution that are closely related to the art of association, upon which democracies depend. When citizens are not skilled at this art, they are less able to work out the ordinary conflicts of life. They will be more frequently called on for authorities to apply coercive force to their opponents. They will be more likely to welcome the bureaucracy of safetyism." So, big words there, Daryl. Let's talk about that.
Well, first of all, I saw this, Matt, when I used to be a school teacher. I saw that kids in my phys ed class, they didn't know how to play. And I was like, how come these guys don't know how to play? If I didn't show them how to do something, like show them how to play a game, I was like, how you don't, here's a ball, go do something. They didn't know. They didn't know what they didn't know. And I realized their parents never had them do free play as a kid, or didn't allow it. It wasn't something that was in their life, and which affect their ability to move, the fundamental movement skills. They didn't know how to run, jump, skip, throw, catch, because they missed out that discovery stage. And it was daunting to me, because I would be in the park with my little guys when they were really small, and they'd be climbing things and running and in sandpit and whatnot, and they were like 3 and 4 years old. That's where all the learning was happening. They were discovering their world and environment and risk and all these things were happening. And I understand it this way. Parents don't know what they don't know. And parents would be looking at me and going, "You're crazy. You're letting your kid climb up there." I go, "Wait, lady, you missed the first part. He's been doing this for a year now." She thought I just let him go up there. But he learned that on his own. He discovered that. So that's a big thing, Matt. I just think that people don't associate free play with later on. They don't see the connection. How does that, affect learning? How does that affect their brain, their socialization? I don't think they know that those things are connected.
Yeah, and good point, Daryl, and the criticalness of it. It's not just about going outside and hanging out and having fun and going around. As the quote stated, it is the development of the neural wiring process for things like conflict resolution. If we look at what's happening in our society, there's an increased incidence of kind of 20-somethings up to 30-somethings showing up with all these anxiety disorders at the emergency room. And, we're seeing the rise of mental health and mental illness and these mental problems that are real problems. I agree with you. I don't think we're actually looking back and making that connection between this didn't happen at this stage of life, so this is happening at this stage of life. I don't think we understand the critical importance beyond just the movement aspect of it. This is real life wiring that's taking place. How do you think that we do a better job, or where should this be introduced so that parents particularly get to hear this and understand this?
Schools, daycares, that's where it should be. Parents should be playing with their kids, ball, swimming, all these things. They're life skills, and that's where it would start. It's like you almost got to schedule it in. Like we live in this hurried lifestyle. I heard it referred to as a hurried lifestyle. We have no time, but this is the time that you're denying your kids of something that is going to help them develop emotionally, socially, mentally, all these things. So really early, and we send our kids to daycare and we have no clue what they're doing, and they need to move. They need to run, jump, crawl, all those things. Kindergarten, no one thinks of exercises, like recess, all these things. Even if we have to structure it for a little bit and then slowly phase out. That's what I did with my boys. I would play with them a little bit, and then I'd slowly pull myself out. I teach them how to play and leave. Here's a game.
Right. So you're kind of, if I'm hearing you right, it's kind of a structured unstructure. Yes. Is what you're trying to deliver, and I think that's a really good point, because because it doesn't naturally happen, you got to make it happen. I mean, now we're at the stage where if you just took a kid and punted them out of your car at the playground, they might not even know where to go or what to do, or even leave the car, or they just pick up their phone and start chatting. My parents just punted me out of the car. Where are you guys? So yeah, it's kind of the intentional structure of unstructured time and play. That's a really good point.
But that's the problem, especially with the younger ones. I'm talking 0 to 6 kind of thing. Is like, I know 0, but I mean, like, you need to introduce it somehow. Throw a ball with them. I was throwing balls with my guys. I was playing tag with my guys around trees, forcing them to move laterally and stuff. And they would be like, my wife would be joking, I can't catch these guys. How come I can't catch these guys? Because they they just learned through play.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Don't you think it's interesting, Daryl, how good we are as parents at sitting down and helping our kids with math, with science, with English, writing an essay, writing a job application, doing all these other things. But yet when it comes time to go outside, which would be an absolute benefit for both the parent and the kid, there's a reluctance around that, or, oh, there's no time, or it can't be, or, like Glenn Young said a couple of podcasts ago, we deprioritize that because we don't value our health, and we don't value the byproducts of a free play enriched society. It's interesting that we prioritize some things over other things.
And even in recess, they let them play. You know what I mean? Like and let, as we said, we were talking before, we might have to structure it in the beginning, teach them how to play, and then we leave. All right, now that you guys know how to play, it's safe. We've included everyone. It's more inclusive. All right, do your thing. Because
and then the next steps would be, you come up with the game. You guys create a game. Here are all the tools that you can use. Create a game out of it. We often underestimate the amount of creativity that kids have. So I really like your point of stepping away. That's obviously going to be one of our top 3 takeaways from today's podcast. That's number 1, is that structured, unstructured environment. So really like that point. And listen, we talk about free play and its importance to the whole, we call it the quality sports spine. And, it was a great way to onboard people to, what should happen when in a kid's life in order to make sure that quality sports spine is aligned, whether they're going to go out to the high performance route at the top or the participation route and active for life route at the top. It really starts with that discovery. That's L5S1, so to speak, on the spine, is that free play discovery. That happens 0 to 5 years old. And that is a big responsibility of the parents, because no one else is going to do that with the consistency and have the effect like the parents do. So that's kind of the first piece. That's the epicenter. Everything stems from that, whether you're high performance or whether you're recreation based. That discovery, that free time, that conflict resolution, doing stuff by yourself. We can't overstate how important that is, because that's really the nervous system for everything else that's going to grow up that sports spine.
Like the foundation. If you can't build a house on a weak foundation, so
Right.
again, that goes to say, once they've gone through that stage, naturally fundamental movement skills would come a lot easier if they had the discovery stage.
Right. So, okay, let's get practical now. I live in the city. I live in an urban center. There's not a lot of green space. High rise. What are some of the things that we can tell parents, Daryl? How can we again introduce that level of free play?
Good question. Kids don't go out and play anymore in the streets unless you push them out. Have balls, have things, have a time, a designated time for your kid right after school. You got to go out and play for half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, or 60 minutes. And you might have to start off playing with them, throwing the ball with them, make up a game with them.
You're saying by have balls, you're saying have the equipment ready for them, have the implementation stuff ready.
Have something.
Sure.
It's almost has to be scheduled because of our busy lifestyle. If we don't say we got swimming, and again, I'm saying we don't want to overschedule these kids, but if they had, just like they had to do homework or they had to do something every day for 60 minutes, 45 minutes, and the parents now, this is an engagement tool for them. They're being role models. They can go for a walk with the kid. They can go play in the playground with the kid. And you're right. Sometimes in these urban centers, you don't have a lot of space to do things. So it might be just playing catch with somebody. What do you got?
100%. Yeah, inside and indoors. So, as I asked the question, I was thinking about it. Indoors. Remember in the old days, you used to go downstairs. You'd have all the chairs. You put a blanket over the chairs. You'd make forts. You'd crawl in and out of that stuff. So it doesn't necessarily just have to happen outside. That creativity can happen inside. But again, it's not sitting down to a device. It's not sitting down to that. It's removing all those external influences and really saying,
for an hour, so you focus
play.
Yeah.
Just go play.
Just play.
So yeah, I like that. Okay, so coming to the end of our 15 minutes, a great question, by the way. So thanks for the audience members that asked us to talk about that today. If we could take a deeper dive, what we've decided to do is we're going to take a deeper dive into all of those reasons for the decrease of participation. Number one was the free play. Glenn Young coming on board and talking about the marginalization of physical education. We've got Gord McClellan talking about the parents' role in what's happening, and technology. We're going to talk about that. Sport specialization. We're going to talk about that. So we're going to address all of these issues, and really appreciated the people coming back and saying, "Hey, we want more than those 15 minutes. We were just getting started. We're just getting hungry." We'll always do that. So we'll always come back and give more things. So top 3 things, Daryl. We've got the number 1. You put unstructured, structured time. This is what they can do. Number 2, you also hit parents getting involved. Really important. That's a really important takeaway. Listen, you can put in the time now, or you can put in the time later. You want to be a parent that has your kid living in your house when you're 35, so be it, but you can't complain because you didn't tell them to get out and solve their own problems. So I really like that as the second takeaway, Daryl. And third takeaway, I think, for free play is really understanding and connecting those dots, like you said, to you do this now, you make this investment now, this is the return on that investment later. Subsequently, you don't make that investment now, this is the problem and the result and the negative ramifications that come from later. So really like those three takeaways that you mentioned, and let's leave it at that. And you want to sign off?
On that note, just go play.